Hello and welcome to the final bell, the first final bell of season 2025. It is great to be with you for another season, and I am so very, very happy because somehow she's agreed to come back and stick with me. Meg McDonald is back. Meg, it is great to see you.
Great to see you too, Lingy. Thank you for a warm introduction.
Oh, no, it's brilliant. We have a lot of fun on this podcast, as everybody knows. We talk some good serious footy. We obviously get some great insights and get to talk to some wonderful people throughout the journey. We're going to do that plenty throughout season 2025. It is exciting. It is always good to be back and into our first podcast, and the season is just around the corner. It does feel a little early. What are we, just gone the start of March? But as soon as we see the footy bounce for the first time, you can't help but get excited about this season.
No, absolutely. And as a player myself, I always get envious of the boys this time of year because you're peak fitness, you're raring to go. There's so much promise. Every team obviously feels that. But the notion that you're about to tip into the routine of rounds and games and competition and opposition, no better time of year.
No, we're going to dive into all of that throughout the season. We're going to dive into that in this show. Of course, the Cats taking part in opening round for the first time. Not round one, opening round. Taking on the Brisbane Lions, as everyone knows, on Thursday night, we believe.
Yes.
Keep a close eye on the Cats website. Obviously, there'll be plenty of news about it if anything was to happen. But there is a little bit of a watch off the coast of Brisbane right now.
There is. Here's how clued in I am. I was scrolling on social media last night and I thought, oh goodness, yeah, righto, keep a watch on the weather. What's the POA? I obviously watch the Cats website,
yes,
but in general,
yes,
is the notion that it might be changed?
Well, the latest, and this is just this morning, we are recording this Monday morning. This podcast is probably being released Tuesday, so there's possibly a lot will have happened between us saying this and being released. It had been upgraded to a Category 2 cyclone off the coast, expected to make landfall in Brisbane on Thursday.
Oh my goodness.
So it is a really close watch right now. There's contingency plans can be in place because both teams have a bye in round 3, so the game can be rescheduled. But obviously that doesn't help a lot of Cat supporters who are possibly heading up there,
of course,
driving or flying. All I would say is, again, we're saying this on a Monday morning, just keep a close eye on the Cats website, keep a close eye on all the news outlets because they will have all the latest information.
Difficult as a player. I mean, you sort of want to have the mindset of, whenever, wherever, whatever. But I don't know, you'd be so, as we just said, so pumped for round one and in the back of your mind thinking, is it going to happen? But also thinking, I don't know what I'd rather, rocking up in those conditions and playing that game or having to delay my anticipation another 10 days.
Yeah, because as you know, pre-season is long and it's hard and it can be very, very tiring. But then you get excited to play real footy to kick the season off. It might be delayed by a little bit. What we're going to do on this podcast is plough ahead as though this game is going ahead. The Cats are taking on the Lions. We know it is a rematch of that prelim final. So there's a lot at stake. The Lions will be unfurling their premiership flag. There'll be heaps of fun for them. But the boys have got a job to do to head up there and take on the Lions and hopefully knock them off. I wouldn't mind, we might get in the second segment of this podcast to having a bit of a look at what the team might look like in that first game, that opening round best 23. But let's take a little look at their pre-season and in particular the two games that they've been a part of, Essendon and the Hawthorn ones. And maybe we hone in on a couple of the players who are looking like they've put in really good pre-seasons and are just starting to make those little jumps. We know, and we've already seen throughout the media that, Paddy Dangerfield, we know what he's a professional. He's done it so many times. Maybe he's going to spend a little bit more time forward. I think Jeremy Cameron spoke about that, all that. So that's a lot of known stuff. What about some of the possible unknowns that you've seen in the practice match? And I want to throw one name at you in particular, to kick things off. Mitch Nevitt.
Mitch Nevitt. I think there's been so much promise around Mitch. Was it 2023 that he sort of had that season where he played semi-regularly in the AFL side, and then for good availability last year. He played a lot of time in the VFL, but finished really strongly in that final against Southport. Yes. Thank you. It's my first look to producer Jake for the season, for the confirmation. And he's just such a fantastic size, and that's what struck me about a lot of our players over the preseason is clearly the work that they've put in the gym, on the track, etc. Their physicality looks, particularly in the younger brigade, looks to have taken another step. And Mitch is one of those who's probably, he's a key position height. He's got broad shoulders and he moves really well. So that bigger bodied mid, I think, is what he's got his eyes set on. But, such is the way for lots of our team. He can line up on the wing, half forward, half back to try and manipulate things, but he looks like he's gone well.
In particular, the Essendon game, I unable to make it here, unfortunately, because we had a whole bunch of my kids' sport and trainings and everything like that. We were running everywhere, but sat down and watched it from home. He was the one who jumped off the screen a little bit at me, and it was, you alluded to it, he's not massively bigger. We're not talking about, oh, wow, look at the size of him. But you could see the maturing of his strength.
Yes.
He picked up the ball and there was a tackle or contact that maybe in years gone by would have created a little the ball getting stripped or a little fumble or something like that. But instead he was able to fend the tackle, still move through and into space and creating something with almost more confidence in, I'm not too worried, even if there is a tackler or an opposition player within the vicinity. And that, I always hesitate to make comparisons, but with that size that you talk about and the big shoulders and that as a midfielder, it was the way Joel Corey used to move through a little bit and contact could come to his arms or his shoulders or a half tackle, and Joel would be not stressed about that. It'd be still, I'll effectively dispose of the ball.
Yep.
Mitch had that in that Essendon game. So to me, that really piqued my interest in thinking, oh, hang on, this is another leap for him. So I'm excited to see what season he could have.
I love that from you. I was more of the recency bias and looking at this is a big one, but at a Mark Blitzarv sort of body shape-wise. I think he's similar in that way. I don't know that he can run quite as well as Blitz can, but he has that sort of ability to move through. And I like you said the word create. He looked to be quite creative particularly with his handballs. I think there are a few times I thought he'd be caught in traffic and next minute he's out and he's changing angles with the way he's moving the ball. So, that's really exciting. A word on the street is he'll definitely play early. I don't know if that's in the round one team or not, but I think to have put your best foot forward when, yes, there's match sim against Hawthorn, but I think the Essendon game, I'm playing for a spot in round one, and to have taken that in his stride and really played well was really exciting for him.
You mentioned the Mark Blitzarv's name, not me.
No,
but I'm gonna throw one at you for Mark Blitzarv's for the little signs, because we're making comparisons now. We're doing this early on, first podcast.
Well, I think there was Connor O'Sullivan. Which assistant coach made that comparison?
Oh, okay, I missed that one.
Was it Riles? One of them in one of the presses made that comparison, and I was shook. And not that I didn't know that he's a good athlete, but I didn't realise we were making those kinds of calls on his athleticism, which
200
I'm sure Connor heard it. I'm sure he was like, no, they said it. He said it.
And genuine versatility.
Genuine
down
versatility.
Back on a wing, what he could add to his game as he progresses.
Yeah, for me, it wasn't so much his versatility that got me excited watching these two matches. It was just the confidence to go for his marks and to leap at the footy. And then in the first quarter of that match sim against Hawthorn, he goes forward and kicks a goal. I do love the way our defence works with, it usually looks like someone has licence, whoever it is in that particular play, to get ahead of the footy and to really get involved in the attack and challenge forward. And he looked, willing and able to do so and slotted the goal. It's exciting.
Competitor too, by the looks of it. Has that that hunger to get after it. Obviously, one name that Geelong fans and all of our listeners to this podcast will be wanting us to talk about is Bailey Smith, high-profile recruit over the off-season. Played just over a half in the Hawthorn match sim. No game against Essendon. Now, as I said, after the break, we'll start shaping up our possible best 23. Maybe just an inside word. Do we think Bailey will be in line for selection in this opening round game?
I think we do. Speaking of inside, we're recording this year. I don't know if this will, hopefully it'll continue, depends how much goss we get inside the footy department itself. So we'll keep we all posted on what we see through the door in front of us and behind the camera. But I think so. I think the word is that he's available for selection. I think he trained the day of the game or the day before the game. Looked great. As Bailey does a lot of the time. He moves incredibly well. And his hunger for the footy was really evident against Essendon. So I'd imagine, I've never been in this position myself, but to get the first game out of the way off the back of significant time out of off the field and going through an ACL rehab, I'm sure was huge for him, and he'll be pushing as hard as anyone to play.
I got told by a couple of the guys within the football department almost that Essendon game was a need to hold him back for his sake. He just wants to go, and that's a great trait to have. But obviously the club is so professionally and brilliantly run that just take your time. It's not about that. The be-all and end-all is not the Brisbane Lions clash in opening round. It's a long season. Yeah. Want to get him back to his best. If he does get back somewhere near his best or at his best, that is really exciting because of his ceiling is anything really, with his running, with his ball use, with his ability to break the lines, could add that extra dynamic to that midfield. So hopefully he is okay and ready to have a wonderful season ahead of him. He will play midfield at some stage throughout the year, but I'm going to say that there's one less midfield spot available in this Geelong team, because Jack Bowes is just locked on. Pop him in the midfield. Thank you very, very much.
We need to talk about this. We need to talk about this because I don't want to pot other media outlets, particularly ones that I might on occasion do some work for. But was it Fox's team? Obviously everyone has to do we're going to be challenging ourselves perhaps later on with a best 23, etc. But Jack Bowes wasn't in the ones that I was seeing, and I was like, sorry, what? Yeah, not even the fact that how he played in recent weeks, but I thought he finished 2024 very strong and really strong. And
really strong.
Not only his midfield ability, but he was hitting the scoreboard with real regularity.
Superb kick of the ball.
Great kick of the ball. I think what's deceptive that I love about his game is that he does have a fluidity that is, I think it almost makes it deceptive, his speed or his his I don't want to like toughness and hardness, because he moves with such, I think he's very graceful on the field. And sometimes I'm like, oh, have you got a handle on that footy? Yep, no, one hand, no worries. Again, he kicked a goal in last week's game, just casually breaks 50, finishes off the work of, I think Tyson was with the gather. So, he's a lock, surely.
I very strongly believe that, because I think his balance of both inside and outside is exactly what you want. He's a strong runner, covers the ground really well, but wins his own ball, and as you said, finishes really well. The obviously small forwards are a strength of the Cats. The forward line will be a really interesting watch now. For so many years, Tom Hawkins just runs out on that ground, and the big 26 is there, and life's good. But it's a different look. Shannon Neal hopefully takes that extra leap. We know that Jeremy Cameron's there as the absolute champion. The small forwards, again, watching Brad Close and Tyson and Graham Myers was excellent in the Essendon game. We know that can be a real strength of the team. Ollie Dempsey's run off the wing on the back of his Rising Star year. So there is still those really important pieces that appear pretty strong and pretty set coming off the pre-season and the practice matches. As I said, after the break, we're going to talk about our best 23s. And the reason why we're doing that, Meg, you'll know this better than me, is we are opening. Well, there is a competition open right now that we're calling the Opening Round Dream Team Competition for the Cats, where fans can select their dream lineup for the chance to win a 2025 team signed Guernsey. Big thanks to Ford for that one. One entry per person. Competition is open and it closes on Wednesday, 5th of March. You just got to head to our website, the Cats website, to pick your team. If you pick the team, pop that draw in there, you could score yourself a 2025 Guernsey, which would be very, very nice.
Yes, it would.
we're going to challenge each other to name our best 23s after the break. The opening round 23, so maybe depending on availability. Just as a little teaser for what's to come in the break, is there any just real left field one that because you get to see them training, you see most pre-season sessions.
Lingy, I
hidden
have
away.
a day job.
Okay, you're working hard,
Yeah.
but you get to occasionally glimpse the training. Is there any real left field one that you're going to have in your 23 that's just like, oh, hang on, where'd that one come from?
Well, it's hard to pull one out of thin air that hasn't played in these 2 games, but I think the word on the street again is that Oisin Mullins not going to miss henceforth. I
like this.
Yeah, that. I don't know. I look at it. Imagine I've said that he'll play every game now on forever, and he doesn't even make the team next week. That'd be interesting. But I think the conversations I've had say that it's hard to see him miss going forward. It's the versatility, the speed is unbelievable, but he can lock down in defence and in the midfield. Now, look, we had a small forward kick 5 goals on last week, but he's one that is apparently really impressed, and I think he's indicative of a lot of players in our team who are existing players, but they're third years, fourth years. You know, even the improvement you're going to get from, like, how well's Jack Henry going? Anyway, we'll get into that later on. Not that he's a third or fourth year, but Mullins, I
like this. Oisin Mullen, I'll just write that one down. We're going to do this very, very shortly. Let's take a break, and let's maybe we just need to take a little bit of a longer break this one. Not that people will notice that on the podcast, but for our recording, we're just going to take a little bit longer because I've got about 32 names that are currently getting into my 23 right now.
You always know when a podcast is going well when they say go to a break and they come straight back.
Yeah.
You need that advertising money.
Trust us in reality. This is a long break we're about to take because I got to get 32 down to 23. All right, back soon. Welcome back to the Final Bell. Great to have you with us. Now, that was a super quick break as far as your podcast listening. I can assure you that was a nice long break for us. Even a little bit of debate. We haven't told each other our final teams yet for our best 23s. We're going to do that on air and talk through some things. Just a reminder why we're having a bit of fun with this for the opening round 23 that might be selected is because you could win yourself a 2025 team signed Guernsey. Big thanks to Ford for that. 1 entry per person. You just got to pick your team by Wednesday, 5th of March, which given this is going out on a Tuesday, that's tomorrow. Put it in there. You could score yourself one of those magnificent signed Guernseys. We're going to do this. Now, we will preface this by saying this is going off the fact that the practice matches and who's played and who hasn't played because of some injury doubts. The official injury report will be released after we are recording this, so we're leaving ourselves a little out there. It feels strange to be picking a 23 for the Cats, and no Tom Hawkins is there, no Zach Tui being there, with those 2 magnificent players retiring.
Did you watch a bit of Zach?
In the jungle?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
No, I didn't watch it.
I'm sorry, Reggie.
Sorry, I should cut that question out. Both of us said no.
No, looking forward to catching up with him though and hearing all about it. Sean Manor is probably one we've had to leave out because it's looking like, even this is preempting the injury report, that he'll be unavailable for selection, but not too far away. Toby Conway's another one that is, I think, a definite out and still building back from his recovery. So they're 2 that you haven't got either of those in, Sean or
don't
Toby.
have either of those in.
Good. All right, this gets hard. We'll try and make this as succinct as we possibly can. This is what the coaches would probably go through times about 1,000.
We will say our colours were showing when I said to you, I've got too many backliners in, and you said you've got too many mids. So we'll see.
And then I quickly thought in my mind, I'm like, what am I going on about?
Like,
you can't have too many mids.
Oh.
Just get as many in as you can. All right, I'm going to go from my backline.
Okay.
And maybe the positions might not perfectly match up.
We would have taken 2 hours.
Yeah. I've got Oisin in the back pocket, Jack Henry and Collar. You got all 3 of those?
Collars, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
He wasn't. Yes, he's in the team. He's in
Okay.
the 23.
Stuart Blitzarves Guthrie. I've just named Blitz at centre back for now, but we know that Blitz can play anywhere.
Yep, you're still missing 2 players that I've got.
Okay, hang on. All right, we'll hold off. I've got. Let's do it this way, shall we? I'm just going to give you the ruckman and then the group of mids. So the ruckman I've got is De Koning.
Mm-hmm.
Then I've got Jack Bowes, who is clearly playing in my midfield no matter what.
Said. Yep.
Max Holmes.
Yep.
Tom Atkins.
Mm-hmm.
Bailey Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Ollie Dempsey. And now I've got myself all confused. And then I've got Mitch Nevitt in there.
Okay.
Somewhere
nice.
in that midfield group.
Yeah.
Okay. Going forward, Stengel, Neil, Dangerfield.
Okay.
Again, not necessarily in those exact positions. Myers, Cameron, Henry.
Yep.
Lawce.
What, are we on the bench now?
Well, yeah, it's sort of on the bench.
Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. We're players that you haven't yet named.
Yeah. Again, I am saying this. Different matchups,
Yes,
different things.
so I'm just trying to follow because
Lawson
my
Humphries could end
setup's
up
not the same.
clearly on a half-back flank
Yeah.
rather than sitting on the bench. But
Yeah.
we know the bench now is just a couple of minutes, bang, they're on the ground. Brad Close, obviously, and who have I missed of all of mine? Mark O'Connor is there, and Tanner Bruin and Mitch Duncan. Though Tanner's he didn't play the Essendon game, so we'll see. We'll wait for the injury report on that one, and then Mitch Duncan. Who have I missed of yours?
I think I have Connor O'Sullivan playing.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't have
had
Connor.
him in.
No, all right.
Meg says Connor O'Sullivan
Okay.
and Ollie Henry.
I've got
Ollie in?
Ollie Henry in the forward pocket.
Okay, maybe that's everyone.
So that's
Who have
maybe
I
just
missed?
Connor
Just
O'Sullivan.
a bit of a...
Have you got Nevitt?
Yep, I had Nevitt.
Oh, good.
I don't think I had... Yeah. Hang on. See, we didn't do this. We're going to get better.
No, this is fun. This is what they. This is
You tell me.
discussions.
I'll read mine out,
All
and
right,
then
go.
you can tell me
Go for it.
what I've done. From the back line, Henry O'Sullivan, Stewart,
Okay.
Mullen Guthrie,
Okay.
midfield DK. Now I put Danger in the middle
Okay.
because it's round 1 and it's wet.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Bowes, Holmes, Smith, Dempsey.
Yep.
Forward line, Stengel, Neil, Myers, Cameron, Henry.
Yep.
Then I also had in the team Close, Atkins, Nevitt,
I know who you've forgotten.
Kola Blitzov, Duncan.
Well, not forgotten. Do you know who?
Who?
Have you got Lawson?
Oh, yeah, sorry, he's up there.
Oh.
Sorry, he was up there. I've got him so much so that he's named as the 7th. He's named actually up in the back line.
You've got to be careful. People are listening to this while they're going for a run along the beautiful Barwon River or
They've
something.
come to a stop.
They just ran off the path without Lawson Humphries.
No, but
I can
anyone
see
who
it.
knows
You've got it
me
written down.
knows.
Yep.
You know.
Okay.
Lawson's in there.
So
Both feet.
Both feet, absolutely. Connor O'Sullivan. Wow.
Yeah.
I like it. Backing him in.
I'm backing him in.
I think he will play a lot of football this year. A lot of football. I just don't think it's going to be opening round.
Well,
It's just purely my guess. I reckon he will be in by what then it becomes round 1 or round 2. He'll be in pretty early.
Anyone with a close eye on what had been happening in the practice games, it looked like he and Collar Jasny were sort of tag teaming it a little bit. I think O'Sullivan played a portion of the VFL game, then played the first half of the Essendon game, and then Collar came on for the second half, I think. Now, if that's who I don't know who you're bumping. Such a strong backline, but
No, it's okay. I love it.
a long career in the hoops ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say if the game was to go ahead on Thursday night,
Oh, he's too tall.
the game will be played in adverse conditions.
Yeah.
And just the younger, taller body, I wouldn't play him, and I would have him fresh and ready to go against Fremantle.
All right. We'll see how our teams stack up for the round 3 bye that we're not having.
Yeah. Again, keep a watch on that one. We're ploughing ahead as though this game is being played on Thursday night. It may not be. The AFL are releasing details, I think, today. I think Andrew Dillon's due to speak. Obviously, by the time this podcast is released, he will have spoken, so we'll know more, but we'll wait and see.
I'm actually just going to need a little, sorry guys, while I drop my pen, a little tutorial. I actually get a lot of feedback about how I read a team out. So how do we think going forward, what's best? From the back line, how do you do the midfield? So
can I give quick insight into an All-Australian team meeting debate that went ahead was a certain member of the selection panel, former Collingwood champion, and so Nathan Buckley was saying, well, when coaches select teams now, it is not back pocket, fullback, back pocket, halfback, centre halfback. It is 2 to 3 deep defenders, 3 highs, or 1 central. 2 different coaches have different language around but it's completely different formation to the traditional, lines just going across like that. We quickly shot him down and said, but we still want to hold on to some tradition of that form of a team. So I still read it out, back pocket, fullback, back pocket, halfback, and halfback. You're right. I would normally read it out as wingman, centreman, wingman. The reason I didn't on this occasion was because I had players' names all over the shop.
Okay, same.
And just group them all
together.
All
right.
There's a little insight. Anyway,
it's important stuff.
I think the underlying message of that is we're pretty similar. We're very, very similar. Maybe give or take an injury concern or two coming out of practice matches who didn't play in the Essendon game, may not play. The injury report will tell us more. Connor O'Sullivan, a big maybe for you as an in. I'm glad you had Lawson Humphreys in there. But pretty similar formations of the team. It's a pretty strong team. It's a very strong team, I reckon.
Very strong team. Yeah, I think the availability across the preseason's been really exciting, and I don't pity
the actual selection process. And that's where that communication is so important, because now we're down to only really one genuine practice match. You've got the match sim Hawthorn, and then a genuine practice match against Essendon. That there will be 30 players who think they've trained really well, had great pre-seasons. The match sim stuff they do at training has been really positive and good. They're a chance. They're desperate. They want to play. They know if they can get in at the start, then they could be in for a run of time. So the communication from the coaches around those who miss is so crucial, to not think, well, you're done now for 6 or 8 weeks. You're just going to live in the VFL for half a season. It's no. This is what we love, what you're doing. We're just a little bit more work to be done in this area. And if you do, by round 2, you can be in the group. By round 1, the Fremantle game, you could be in the group. So that type of communication, showing a clear pathway to get over that disappointment of not playing in this first game, is really important. Coming up against the Brisbane Lions team, obviously the reigning premiers, very, very good. A super strong midfield. A strong midfield that's just got stronger by getting Levi Ashcroft, though I don't think he'll be available for selection in the first game. He maybe got off with it. No, I think
I watched the mini last night as preparation for this podcast.
Sorry, the concussion issue he might have had, I think there was enough time gone by. And Starcevic had a concussion. Thank you,
awful,
producer Jakey. He possibly won't play.
But Levi was off half-back, was he? Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, he's a jet. He has been his whole under-18 career. Will's going to be even better again, despite the fact he won a Norm Smith medal, but he'll be better for now a full pre-season and games under his belt, with a first-class midfield anyway. So it'll be a great test of how the group's going.
I think our forward line will look a little bit different. So, and again, I mean, who knows what conditions we'll be playing in, but I thought Logan Morris looked really good in the prackies. He's obviously levelling up, as you do when you're at that stage of your career. So, they're looking strong. No Danaher.
It's a big out, Joe, because he does give them that focal point, that consistent focal point, that little pinch hit in the ruck. But you're right. They've got lots of options there. Great way to test the team early on. We've got no idea what the conditions are going to be like. If it does go ahead, could be sideways rain and completely crazy. And it's just one of those that you somehow grit your teeth and you try and get an important 4 points under the belt in horrific conditions. And we can't tell too much about form lines coming out of a game like that. It's sheer willpower that perhaps gets you over the line.
Is that true for round one in general, would you say? That sort of like what are your KPIs in a round one in the AFL competition? Because you speak about selection and the mentality of missing out at this time of year, and I think like my experience as a W player is the season is a sprint. So you want to be playing your best footy as an individual and as a team pretty much from the off, because if you get behind the 8 ball, you're in strife. But I imagine in the men's there is slightly different pacing, but at the same time the anxiety and the pumpedness is probably never more heightened than for round one.
No, it's not. And you do also know that the positive affirmation you get from wins early on in the season for all the work you've done through the pre-season is crucial. You go, you trust it. Yeah, this is working. Okay, I see what the coach is doing. I see how this is going to play out throughout the season with the win. A few losses, as much as you still might be doing lots of things right and it's not quite working, you can't help but think, oh, well, all this bloody stuff we did over pre-season, was the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
We're working. So therefore you start doubting the way you're trying to play and the different things like that. So you're absolutely right. Wins are important. What I would say is somehow you've got to just remove that for a little bit and be comfortable in a really uncomfortable and messy and mistake-riddled game.
That's the thing. I was looking at the Essendon game and I probably went from watching the Hawthorn pracky, to take us back and, go over what we've already spoken about. But Hawthorn game, I'm like, great, we're winning the premiership again. Awesome. Lock that one in. Essendon game, I was like, oh, guys, any danger of, hitting a kick? So there was a bit more of that. And I think nothing says to me we're early in a year and in a season like 3 people flying for the same mark or speculative handballs or slight overuse of the footy. So I think there were those sort of things a little bit in the Essendon game. So we can't expect that to just disappear in a week of training and thinking about it. So I imagine that's the sort of stuff where you think, we'll do our best and we know we'll get better.
Yeah, and 8 minutes into this game,
you will be blowing.
You will be running in the midfield thinking, I have not done a pre-season at all. Your legs feel like they're 100 kilos each.
And whether you're playing this week or in 2 weeks, 3 weeks time in Brisbane, it's going to be heavy.
Yeah,
it's going to be squidgy. It's going to be rough.
And as you know, too, just the mistakes will add up. One mistake will lead to another mistake, and rather than that frustration of, come on, you've got to hit that toe. What the hell are you doing? He's like, hey, mistakes are happening, so let's just get over and clean it up, and we support each other, and let's get some protection behind, and let's work through the fact that this game is going to be or look or feel horrific at times, but we work our way through it and get the result we want to get.
And I think the positive thing, to put a positive note to it, is that there were definitely players in that Essendon game that I looked at and I thought, that's a maturity and a seniority in the team and in your career. Like a Gryan playing, like he's hitting his kicks, he's having his shot at goal when the time's right. Zach Guthrie played incredibly well. Jack Henry was great. So I think those players that are really in their prime, for them it's a bit more like riding a bike than it is for others.
Yeah, you get that feel back. You just start absorbing it and you're like, yeah, no, it's fine. I can hit that one. Absolutely. We can't wait for it to all start. Hopefully on Thursday night. It is great to be back on the podcast. Great to have Meg back as well. We're going to have a wonderful season hopefully ahead of us, you and I.
What are you looking forward to? Any one thing quickly?
One thing. I'm out of all the Geelong stuff. Yeah. It is is this the right word? The next gen midfield.
Okay.
Love that. For years it's and unbelievably Paddy and Joel Selwood for a long time and Tom Atkins, he'll still be there. And Paddy will still be there. Yeah. Cam Guthrie and he's still going to get there. And Mitch will still get there. They'll all still be a part of it. Yeah. But it feels like Max Holmes and excited about Bailey Smith and throw in Jack Bowes and throw in maybe Mitch Nevitt. That sort of next Jai Clark. We haven't even mentioned him yet. Well, I know he's going to have a really that next gen feeling. Yeah. So brilliantly supported by those great players who've still got it. Yeah. That's exciting.
Love that. That.
Midfield focus again from me, Meg.
No, that's good. I'll probably go and say I think there are some significant milestones, I think, for the playing group this year, and they're always good things to look forward to. You sort of not counting your chickens, but we've got possibly 300 games for Mitch Duncan. That's a massive one. Danger plays 350th. So those moments of celebration that you look forward to the year and you think, oh, there are going to be so many highlights, whether or not we, lift the cup at the end, which we also will. So
we hopefully will do that one. That is plenty. That's going to happen in plenty time. We'll be back every single week to dissect the game, to look forward to the following game, to have a whole lot of fun. Don't forget, we are more than happy to answer any questions you've got, so please keep those coming in.
If we don't play on Thursday night, you might have to send quite a few questions in for content next week.
Not sure we'll have heaps to talk about, will we? But please keep those questions coming in. Love your support. Meg, enjoy the opening round of football. Hopefully we've got a game to watch. We certainly have other games to watch over the weekend. We will be back next week.
Love it. Go the Cats.